In the vast expanse of West Africa, Burkina Faso has long been a land of resilience, a nation of communities bound together by history, culture, and a shared sense of survival. Yet in recent years, an unseen enemy has crept into the fabric of daily life, spreading fear and uncertainty across cities, villages, and remote settlements alike. Kidnappings, once rare, have surged into a crisis that threatens not just individuals, but the very security and stability of the nation. At the center of this unfolding struggle stands Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the youngest leader in Burkina Faso's history, a soldier turned president, a man whose life and leadership have become inextricably linked to the fight against abductions. For Traoré, this is not merely a political challenge. Every report of a missing child, every alert about a vanished family resonates personally, and every threat to the innocent demands decisive action. From the moment intelligence reports began to paint a picture of escalating kidnappings, Traoré understood the stakes. This was not a simple crime wave. It was a coordinated strategy by organized networks that sought to exploit fear, destabilize local governance, and weaken the bonds of trust between citizens and the state. The kidnappers were clever, adaptive, and ruthless. They moved quickly, struck unexpectedly, and vanished before conventional forces could respond. Their tactics were surgical, leaving behind trauma and terror in equal measure. The president's response was immediate and deliberate. No room was left for hesitation. Military units were deployed to the most affected regions, surveillance intensified, and intelligence operations expanded into both urban centers and remote villages. Yet Traoré knew that brute force alone would not suffice. The kidnappers were as much a psychological threat as a physical one, and the morale of the people could be as easily targeted as any military position. Every move had to be strategic, measured, and precise. But this was not a challenge Traoré faced alone. He called upon his commanders, advisors, and intelligence officials, gathering them in the secure rooms of the palace. Maps were spread across tables, each dotted with reports of missing persons, intercepted communications, and clues to the patterns of the kidnappers. Conversations were tense, calculated, every word weighed against the consequences. The young president's voice carried authority and clarity. We cannot allow fear to dictate the lives of our people. We will act. We will protect. We will fight. At the same time, Traoré understood the importance of involving local communities. Villagers, long accustomed to self-reliance, were encouraged to report suspicious activities, form defense committees, and actively participate in intelligence gathering. It was a bold move, one that empowered ordinary citizens to reclaim their safety, to become the first line of defense against the encroaching menace. This approach not only strengthened surveillance but built a renewed sense of trust between the people and their government, a crucial element in countering threats that thrived on fear and secrecy. International support became another critical component of the strategy. Neighboring countries, facing similar insurgencies, coordinated with Burkina Faso's military, sharing intelligence, and aligning operations to prevent kidnappers from crossing borders undetected. Traoré's leadership extended beyond his own nation's boundaries, forging alliances that enhanced the reach and effectiveness of anti-kidnapping campaigns. Despite the progress, the human cost remained heavy. Families continued to vanish in remote areas. Villages were left empty as fear spread. Each rescue operation brought relief, yet each new incident reminded the nation that the battle was far from over. In these moments, Traoré's resolve deepened. He saw not only the immediate danger, but the symbolic threat, an enemy attempting to destabilize the very notion of security, to undermine the faith of a people in their government, their neighbors, and their own courage. The president's personal stakes were higher than most could imagine. Reports surfaced that even members of his own family had been threatened, kidnapped, or targeted in the broader campaign of intimidation. These incidents only hardened Traoré's determination. Every action taken, every operation ordered, every decision made was infused with a personal sense of urgency. The safety of his people was inseparable from his own mission, and every rescue was both a victory and a reminder of the ongoing struggle. Traoré's approach combined intelligence, diplomacy, and decisive military action. Every movement of the kidnappers was tracked, every communication intercepted. False trails were planted to mislead, traps set to apprehend. The president ensured that every measure was methodical, every operation precise. There was no room for error. The stakes were too high, and the consequences of failure were measured not only in political terms, but in human lives. As operations expanded, the network of kidnappers began to show cracks. Intelligence revealed patterns, connections between seemingly isolated incidents, and coordination across regions that were previously invisible. Traoré's teams exploited these weaknesses, dismantling cells, rescuing hostages, and sending a clear message: Burkina Faso would not yield to fear, and those who preyed upon the innocent would face the full weight of justice. The psychological dimension of the fight was as important as the physical one. Traoré used public addresses to reassure citizens, emphasizing resilience, unity, and vigilance. He encouraged communities to remain calm yet alert, to participate actively in securing their environment without succumbing to panic. In doing so, he transformed a population under siege into an empowered force, capable of contributing to its own protection. Over months of relentless effort, patterns emerged. Kidnappers adapted, but the combined pressure of intelligence, military precision, and community vigilance began to limit their mobility and reduce their effectiveness. Hostages were increasingly recovered, and operations that once failed due to lack of information succeeded as the intelligence network grew stronger and more coordinated. Yet Traoré remained cautious. He knew the enemy was patient and adaptive. Each success brought new challenges as networks reformed, changed tactics, and sought to exploit any gap in defenses. The president responded with agility, adjusting strategies, deploying rapid response teams, and maintaining continuous surveillance. No area was too remote, no detail too small to be ignored. Every piece of information was analyzed, every report verified. The fight against kidnappers was not a battle of numbers alone, it was a war of wits, strategy, and endurance. The human stories behind the statistics were never lost on Traoré. Each name of a missing person represented a family in agony, a community in fear. The faces of children, the tear-streaked cheeks of mothers, the silent suffering of fathers, these images fueled his determination. For the president, leadership was inseparable from empathy. Every operation was guided by the knowledge that real lives hung in the balance. Over time, Burkina Faso's coordinated response began to produce measurable results. Kidnapping attempts were foiled before they could fully materialize. Communities reported suspicious activity more frequently and reliably. Military and intelligence operations became increasingly effective, leading to the liberation of hostages and the arrest of key figures within kidnapping networks. Traoré's strategy demonstrated the power of combining leadership, intelligence, and community engagement to combat an insidious threat. International observers began to note the effectiveness of Traoré's approach. Countries facing similar threats reached out for guidance, seeking to replicate Burkina Faso's model of community engagement and precise military response. Regional cooperation strengthened as Mali, Niger, and other neighbors recognized that cross-border kidnappings required joint efforts to address. Traoré's leadership became a focal point not only for national pride but also for regional security. Even as victories were achieved, Traoré maintained vigilance. He understood that complacency could undo months of progress. The kidnappers' networks were resilient, adaptable, and determined. Each operation, each intelligence intercept, each community report was treated as a critical piece in the ongoing battle. The president's attention to detail, his ability to synthesize information, and his relentless drive ensured that Burkina Faso remained one step ahead. Throughout this struggle, the psychological impact on the population was profound. Fear, grief, and uncertainty had been the kidnappers' greatest weapons. Traore's consistent messaging, combined with tangible successes, gradually restored a sense of security and hope. Citizens began to participate actively in safeguarding their communities, contributing to intelligence and supporting recovery efforts. The narrative shifted from one of helplessness to one of resilience and empowerment. As the campaign against kidnappers continued, Traore's legacy was being forged. Not merely as a political figure, but as a leader who transformed crisis into strategy, fear into vigilance, and chaos into coordinated action. The president's ability to balance military precision, community engagement, and diplomatic coordination demonstrated the multidimensional nature of leadership required in the face of modern threats. In every rescue operation, every intercepted communication, and every thwarted abduction, the presence of Traore's leadership was felt. His vision extended beyond immediate tactical victories. He aimed to build a system capable of preventing kidnappings, identifying threats before they could manifest, and fostering a culture of resilience that would endure long after any single operation. Yet, the struggle was far from over. The kidnappers were adaptive, their networks evolving in response to every setback. Traore's teams faced ongoing challenges, from difficult terrain to limited resources and the complexity of coordinating intelligence across diverse regions. But the president's commitment never wavered. Each challenge was met with strategic innovation, relentless perseverance, and an unwavering focus on the safety of the people. Through months of persistent effort, Burkina Faso began to see measurable improvements. Communities once paralyzed by fear began to reclaim their streets. Children returned to school, markets reopened, and families reunited. Each success, however small, represented not only a tactical victory, but a restoration of hope and normalcy. The narrative of Burkina Faso under Traore's leadership is not merely one of conflict, but of resilience, courage, and the power of effective leadership. The fight against kidnappers illustrates the intricate balance between strategy, empathy, and determination required to navigate a nation through crisis. Traore's actions have set a precedent for how nations can respond to internal threats, demonstrating that proactive leadership, combined with community engagement and international cooperation, can overcome even the most daunting challenges. As the nation moves forward, the lessons of this struggle remain clear. Kidnappers may strike with stealth and brutality, but unity, vigilance, and strategic leadership can turn the tide. Ibrahim Traoré's fight against kidnappers is not only a testament to his leadership, but also a symbol of Burkina Faso's enduring strength, resilience, and determination to protect its citizens and secure its future. The story of how Traoré is fighting kidnappers is ongoing. Each day brings new challenges, new threats, and new opportunities to protect the innocent and preserve the sovereignty of a nation. Through courage, strategy, and unwavering resolve, the president continues to lead Burkina Faso in a fight that is as much about survival as it is about dignity, justice, and the promise of a secure future for generations to come.